All right, so we are on to day number 9 of 30 days of Q&A. And I'm actually here in the car with my family. I've got Xander over here. You say hi.
Hi.
Yeah, that's Xander. Then we got Willow in the back with a lollipop. The crisis. Oh, cheese. And then we have little Maya that's in there sleeping. I'm not sure you guys can see her or not. And then there's this lady that a hitchhiker just picked up on the side of the road. This is my wife, Jen. And today I wanted to talk about a really important lesson that I think is one of the most crucial pieces that separates people from being successful versus people from giving up. It is really around mindset and really around taking ownership. There's 2 different ways of operating, 2 different modes of operating. And in psychological theory, there's this concept of having a locus of control. There's 2 different kinds of locus of control. There's internal locus of control and external locus of control. And what it means is basically, where do you assign responsibility for your life and for your outcomes and the things that you're experiencing? If you have an internal locus of control, then you take responsibility and you see yourself as being ultimately responsible for your environment, for your circumstances, for your outcomes in life. And external locus of control is you see yourself as a victim to external causes, and therefore we feel powerless. If you have an external locus of control, then you tend to make excuses, life as being against you. One of my favorite quotes is, whether you think that you can or you think that you can't, you're right. And I think that's really true. Whether you have an external locus of control or you have an internal locus of control, both of them are actually equally valid, because our self-concepts are actually an illusion. There's 2 sides of a coin, right? The 2 sides don't separate, they come together. Ultimately, cause and effect is an illusion, because cause and effect actually arise simultaneously. And the truth is, there's always things that you can blame externally for your experiences, your circumstances, what's happening to you. There's always an external factor that's contributing to the place that you're at right now. But when you have an external locus of control and you don't take responsibility or ownership of what's happening around you, then what tends to happen is we give our power away. And when opportunities come up, we think, what's even the use of trying? What's the use of trying? Because no matter what happens, I'm an unlucky person, or it seems like life is against me, the universe is against me. And it's a really disempowering point of view versus taking responsibility for everything, taking ownership for everything. And even if there was other parties responsible, it's much more empowering to focus inside and recognize, what did you do that contributed to the situation, and how could you change the way that you're behaving? Because ultimately, you can't control someone else. You can't control external situations. All you can control is your own response. I don't know if you guys have read this book yet, but this is a must read. It's one of the best books of all time, is the book Man's Search for Meaning. It's written by Viktor Frankl. He wrote this book when he was in Nazi Germany. He was actually in a concentration camp, and he was witnessing his family dying around him. He was witnessing horrible cruelty like nothing any of us have ever experienced. And his breakthrough that he had, and what the whole book was focused around, was he had this realization that we ultimately have responsibility for our experience of reality, because no matter what's happening, we have the ability to respond. So there's a space between what happens externally and our response. And in that space is where the quality of our life is chosen. I actually need to reread this book. It's probably been 2 or 3 years since I've read it, but that was really the core premise, was recognizing that we have the ability to interpret what's happening in a way that empowers us or disempowers us, even if we're in the absolute worst circumstances we can imagine. And so one direct exercise to put this into practice when it comes to your life and your music career is to add it to your goal setting practice. Every morning, I would recommend looking at your top 3 goals. And remember how earlier on in the series we talked about your top 3 goals for these different time frames, your daily goals, your top 3 goals for your week, your top 3 goals for your month, your top 3 goals for the quarter, your top 3 goals for the year. And especially when you start getting into those long-term goals that are a year from now, 3 years, 5 years from now, if you have big goals and big dreams, then likely what's going to happen is they're going to bring up some fear in you. And there's going to be some self-doubt that comes up, because if you're looking to achieve anything worth achieving, then it's going to require you to become a higher version of yourself, a different version of yourself that's more capable potentially than you even are right now. And so in its very nature, when you bring up that idea, it's scary and it creates the sense of incongruence, because who you are right now isn't necessarily that person in the future. And part of your brain, part of your self-image understands that. It says, well, I'm not that person right now. And so that dissonance is actually what creates movement. So it creates momentum. If you're able to sit with that dissonance and keep focused on moving towards that vision. If you look at your top 3 goals for the year, what I recommend doing is, for each of those goals, write down 3 reasons why you can achieve that. So 3 strengths, 3 reasons why it's a gimme. It's an easy thing that you're going to be able to accomplish those goals successfully. And after you write down those 3 reasons that are supportive of the goal, why it's definitely going to happen, then I want you to write down 3 reasons why you can't achieve those goals. 3 reasons why it's practically impossible, or 3 big hurdles, 3 obstacles that make it very challenging in order to achieve that goal. And then after you have those 3 reasons that are basically outlining why you can achieve the goal, and you have the 3 reasons why you can't achieve the goal, then I want you to look at them side by side and realize that those are both equally valid. And what you choose to believe is the thing that's going to drive you moving forward. And it's going to give you a light that you can shine on maybe the parts of your subconscious or the fear-based parts of yourself, the doubt, and give it a voice where you actually can see what it's saying, so that you have some awareness of it. Because the truth is, everyone has that doubt, everyone has that voice. And if you didn't have that voice, then you'd probably be a psychopath or you'd be a sociopath, because there are benefits to that voice. Sometimes it illuminates the risks, it illuminates the things that you're going to need to overcome in order to achieve the goals. A lot of times those obstacles are valid, and it's not so much that you're trying to pretend that there aren't obstacles or challenges. It's just that you recognize that you can overcome them, that there's a way to get through them, there's a way to work around them, and that you can. And what I recommend doing is write down 3 reasons why you can't achieve the goal, 3 reasons why you can achieve the goal, and then for each of the reasons that you wrote down that you can't achieve the goal, I recommend transforming and reframing those and thinking about why, in what circumstances, in what cases are those 3 beliefs or those 3 challenges able to be overcome, and write those down. And ultimately what this really comes down to is the classic parable of, there's a grandfather who's telling his granddaughter, inside of each of us we have 2 different wolves that are fighting. Yeah, we have the wolf of love and the wolf of fear, and each of us has these 2 different wolves inside of us that are fighting each other. And the granddaughter asks, which wolf wins? And the grandfather says, the wolf that you feed. And I don't know, that one just really hits me in the heart for some reason, because it's so true. It's the wolf that you feed, and they're both inside of you, and they're both there. And all of us, we have both of those voices inside of us. And the one that ultimately wins the battle is the one that you feed, the one that you nurture, the one that you encourage. And our brains are habit-forming devices. And so if we habitually train ourselves to feed the wolf of love and focus on our goals and why we can achieve them, and doing everything that we can to achieve them, not neglecting the obstacles or the challenges, but actually leaning into them and shining a light on them, bringing them into awareness so that we can overcome them, recognizing that we ultimately have a responsibility for our own experiences, for our own circumstances, and for our own interpretation of reality, then I think that's one of the most empowering viewpoints that you can take, and it's really the part of the success mindset overall. No questions for today, but tomorrow we'll be back. We'll go live. I appreciate you guys being here, being a part of it, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hey Xander, can you say, yeah?
Yeah!